Hi, this is Mrs. Doris. This is lesson 2-7 entitled Solving Proportions. Today our objective in this lesson is that you will be able to solve and apply proportions to problems, and of course we can apply proportions to solve real life type problems. Alright, so we have two vocabulary terms today. The first is proportion. A proportion is simply a type of equation that states that two ratios are equal. Remember that a ratio is just the comparison of two numbers by division. So a ratio like 1 over 2 is compared to, let's say, x over 5. And we will be solving proportions similar to this in this lesson. The second vocabulary term is called the cross product property, and I'm sure that you have done this before and used it. In the proportion, A over B is equal to C over D, where B and D are not equal to 0, and this is because in our denominators of B and D we cannot divide by 0. Your calculators give you an error message, and in our mathematics, in our properties, they do not define division by 0. All right, so what the cross product property says is that we can take A times D, and that is equal to B times C. All right. Another way of saying this is the product of the, let me erase this for a second, the product of the extremes, A and D, is equal to the product of the means, B times C. All right? Okay, so the question is, why does the cross products property work? All right, so let's start with our A over B equals C over D and take a look at how this works. Of course, we want to get rid of fractions generally. When we are solving for a particular variable and we have a division problem like A divided by B, we want to get the B out of the denominator. So the first thing that I would do is I would multiply both sides by B. All right, on the left-hand side, my B cancels out, and that leaves me with A equals C times B all over D. All right, and actually I'm going to turn this around just so that it'll look like it does in the book, and since C times B, we're going to put B times C. All right, same thing, all over D. Now, we want to get D out of the denominator, so we're going to multiply both sides by D. All right, on the left-hand side, D times A is AD. On the right-hand side, our D's cancel out and leaves us with B times C. So notice that when we go back to the original problem, this right here is the same as taking A times D is equal to B times C. And that's called cross products. All right, so problem 1. We're going to solve a proportion and use the multiplication property. And this is not the cross products property. So I'm going to show you two different ways to solve proportions, and then you can choose the way that you would like to solve them. All right, I have two fractions. X over 7 is equal to 4 over 5. And when we have two fractions that equal to each other like this, or two ratios, this is a proportion. Okay, I'm not going to use the cross products property. What I'm going to do is find the least common multiple of 7 and 5, which would be 35. And I'm going to multiply both sides by 35. All right. On the left-hand side, That would give me 35x over 7. On the right-hand side, 4 times 35 is 140 divided by 5. All right, simplifying our expressions, 35x divided by 7 would be 5x. On the right-hand side, 140 divided by 5 would be 28. All right, and then dividing both sides by 5. Our 5 over 5 is equal to 1, and 1 times x is x. On the right-hand side, 28 divided by 5. 5 goes into 28 5 times with 3 left over, so it'd be 5 3/5, or that can be expressed as 5 6/10 as well. All right, so here is my answer. And this is not using the cross products property, but it is using the multiplication property, where we multiply both sides by the least common denominator of our two denominators, 7 and 5. All right, now, problem 2, we are going to use the cross products property. And it is my guess this may be the one that you want to use as you solve your problems, but again, I'm going to let you make that choice. Okay, using the cross products property, I'm going to take y times 5, which would be 5y. Please note we are always going to put the number in front of the variable in a multiplication situation. And that's going to be equal to 3 times 3, which is 9. Okay? Now, all we have to do is divide both sides by 5. 5y divided by 5 is 1y. 9 divided by 5 is 1 and 8/10. Okay? So this would be our solution to this cross products property. You can always check these and make sure that you're right by substituting your answer in for the y. So substituting 1.8 for y, dividing it by 3, and setting that equal to the 3/5. Again, you can use cross products, or you can simply divide. 1.8 divided by 3 is 0.6, or 6/10. 3 divided by 5 is also 6/10. And so we have checked our solution, and we have a correct solution with 1 and 8/10. All right, problem 3. Of course, we have to make our proportions more difficult. So here we go. We're going to do this one. This is an excellent one to use cross products property on. So I'm going to recopy it here, and we're going to use cross products. We're going to have on the left 5 times 2n plus 4. Okay. Notice I put that the 2n plus 4 has to go together, and so I have shown it in parentheses in step 2. And then n times 6 would be 6n. All right, let's distribute. 5 times 2n is 10n, plus 5 times 4 is 20. And that is equal to 6n on the other side. All right, this is one case. Since I have my constant on the left-hand side, I'm going to move the 10 in. That way I only have 2 steps left to do. All right, so 10n minus 10n is 0, and I'm left with 20 is equal to 6n minus 10n is negative 4n. I'm going to rewrite this up here. 20 equals negative 4n. I'm going to divide each side by negative 4 to undo the multiplication between negative 4 and n. Negative 4n divided by negative 4 is 1n, and 20 divided by negative 4 is negative 5. So my answer appears to be negative 5. Now we're going to check it out by taking that and substituting it into our equation. That would give us negative 5 divided by negative 5 is equal to 2 times negative 5 plus 4, all divided by 6. Negative 5 divided by 5 is negative 1. On the right-hand side, 2 times negative 5 is negative 10, plus 4 divided by 6. Negative 10 plus 4, I'm running out of room, so I'm going to show it over here. Negative 10 plus 4 is negative 6, and divided by 6, that is equal to negative 1 as well. So since both sides give me the same amount, my answer of negative 5 is correct. Okay, now let's apply it to a more of a real-life type of problem. An 8-ounce can of orange juice contains about 97 milligrams of vitamin C. About how many milligrams of vitamin C are there in a 12-ounce can of orange juice? All right, so let's set it up. It doesn't matter how I set it up, but I do want to make sure that I get my 8-ounce can with 97 milligrams. I want to put everything in the right place. So I'm going to go ahead and put 8 ounces up here. Notice I'm putting the label with my proportion as well, and that is to make sure that when I write my other side, I'm going to get things in the correct place. Okay, so 8-ounce can has 97 milligrams. I'm going to write that as a ratio. And I could have put 97 milligrams over 8 ounces as well. Now, on the other side, what is important is if I have ounces on top, I must have ounces on top over here. So I have a 12-ounce can. And my question is, how many milligrams of vitamin C are there? So we're going to let that be our X. All right, let's cross multiply. 8 times X is 8X. On the other side, we have 97 times 12. Okay? All right, 97 times 12 is 1,164. Dividing both sides by 8, I'm going to move over here. I get X equals 145 and 5/10 for my answer, and that would be milligrams. Always make sure that you label your answer on a word type problem. All right, and once again, we can substitute that in for our X and make sure that we have equivalent expressions on each side. I'm not going to show that part here. All right. At this point, if you feel like you're ready to begin and you don't have any questions, then come to class tomorrow and you can be ready to work on the assignment in class. If you feel like there's something yet that you're not understanding, then continue paying attention and I'll show you a few more examples. All right. Number 1, we're going to do cross products. B times 5 would be 5B. On the other side, 6 times 4 is 24. Dividing both sides by 5 to isolate the B, I get B is equal to, and my answer would be 4 4/5, or 4.8, either one. All right, number 2. Again, let's cross multiply. 5 times X is 5X. On the other side, 9 times 15 is 135. Dividing each side by 5 to isolate the x, I get x equals 27. Okay. Number 3. Again, I like using cross products. 4 times w is 4w. Doing the other cross product, I have 2 times w plus 3. And again, that w plus 3 must be put into parentheses. My next step is going to be to distribute. 2 times w is 2w, plus 2 times 3 is 6. I'm going to now get my variable on the same side, so I'm going to subtract the 2w from the right so that it disappears. And 4w minus 2w would give us 2w. On the right-hand side, I simply have my 6 left. And then dividing by 2, I get w is equal to 6 divided by 2 is 3. Number 4, using cross products again, I have 3 times 2 is 6. The other direction, I have 1 times x plus 1. Now, 1 times x plus 1 is simply x plus 1. Okay, that's the identity property. And then I'm going to move up here. The only last thing I have to do is subtract 1 from each side. 1 minus 1 gives me 0. On the left side, 6 minus 1 is equal to 5. And so my x is equal to 5. All right, and again, we can substitute each one of these back into the original equation to make sure that we have a true statement. Okay, number 4, music. A band went to a recording studio and recorded 4 songs in 3 hours. All right, I'm anticipating a ratio, 4 songs in 3 hours. Okay, how long would it take the band to record 9 songs if they record at the same rate? All right, since I put songs on top, I'm going to put 9 songs on top. And we'll call the rate or the hours x that we're looking for. Okay, so let's cross multiply. 4 songs times x is 4x. 3 hours times 9 songs would be 27. And dividing by 4, I get x is equal to, and let's see, 4 goes into 27 6 times with 3 left over, so 6 3/4 hours is how long it would take the band to record 9 songs, given that they can record 4 songs in 3 hours. Okay, vocabulary. It says use the proportion and identify the following. Now, these were vocab words, and I don't consider them real important because if we turned the proportion around, the extremes change and the means change. So I'm not concerned about that. The extremes are the M and the Q. Okay? The means are the N and the P. All right? If we were to turn them around, and the only reason I think this is true, if I wrote them like this, M divided by N is equal to P divided by Q. The extremes are the ones on the ends, so M and Q. And the means are the ones in the middle, the N and the P. All right? If I did cross products, the cross products, M times Q is one cross product, and that would be equal to the other cross product, N times P. All right. Number 9, When solving x over 5 equals 3/4, Lisa's first step was to write 4x equals 5 times 3. All right, so let's talk about that. 4x equals 5 times 3 is simply using the cross products property. Jen's first step was to write 20 times x over 5 equals 20 times 3 over 4. Will both of these methods work? Well, notice that x over 5 is what we have right here in the proportion. 3 over 4 is what we have on the right side of the proportion, and all they've done is multiply both sides by the same number. Will both these methods work? Yes, they will. Lisa's method uses the cross products property. And Jen used the multiplication property. Multiplication property just says you can multiply both sides by the same number. Okay? All right, tomorrow in class we'll be working on these problems, so bring your questions to school tomorrow. I will be posting on the discussion board, and if you have a question that you would like to drop in there, that would be great, and I will try to answer it between now and tomorrow's class. Thank you. Have a great evening.